There is a mystical teaching, it's attributed to Jesus. It was preserved in the Gospel of Thomas, and it was discovered among the Nag Hammadi texts. Now, let me start by saying that this is not a teaching about belief. These teachings are less about what you believe, and they're more about the inner workings of your psyche. This teaching is often described as the three mirrors, and I'm going to be sharing it with you in the framework of sacred union. The three mirrors are not literal mirrors, but they are states of perception through which consciousness is maturing, and through that, sacred union becomes more embodied. The first mirror, it's the world around you. And in this mirror, everything feels external. Power is outside of you. Love is outside of you. God is outside of you. Masculine and feminine concepts are projected outwards onto our partners, parents, leaders, religion, culture. Masculine is seen as control, force, structure, dominance, action, and the feminine is seen as intuition, reception, but could also be suppression or self-erasure. Because the nature of this mirror reflects to us who we believe ourselves to be and how we see the outer world, it is an unconscious mirror. Until we recognize this mirror for what it is, simply a reflection, we are ruled by it. Most people never move past this mirror because nothing asks them to, because it's what they've always known. It's how they've oriented themselves into the world. And many have confused this outer mirror to mean that the outer world is reflecting itself back to you. And in some ways it is. But the problem is many take this mirror too literally. For example, if someone cheats on you, this doesn't mean that you too are a cheater and that this cheating is part of you and it's somewhere buried in your shadow. Rather, the more accurate understanding of this outer mirror is that it's just simply showing us the state of our nervous system, what feels familiar, what we're scanning for to find safety in, what our system has learned to expect. So if you notice yourself thinking, everyone feels angry, people can't be trusted, relationships don't feel safe, the mirror isn't saying you are those things. It's just showing you where your system has learned to stay alert. This is an important concept because, again, in many less evolved spiritual teachings, there's this notion that the world is reflecting back to you what you are. So if you find someone untrustworthy, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are an untrustworthy person. It can mean that, but the deeper teaching is that you have developed a pattern recognition in your nervous system that untrustworthy is familiar. For example, someone may be attracting unemotionally available partners. From the outside, this looks like bad luck, but the mirror is revealing something deeper. Even though intimacy is desired, closeness feels unsafe in the body. A familiar internal pattern is being revealed. And this is why most people never move past this mirror. They just feel cursed, unlucky in love, and they continue the painful pattern because they remain looking outward. Before sacred union, we often look outside ourselves for relationship, for safety, direction, validation, or completion. And as our outer yang and inner yin worlds begin to integrate, the mirroring begins to shift. We stop outsourcing direction. We stop looking to others for intuition. We stop asking the world to carry what we haven't even yet integrated. And then something subtle and yet powerful happens. We may still see the anger or the emotional unavailability in the world, but we're no longer consumed by it. We may still see unconscious behavior, but we don't collapse into it. The world no longer controls us, it informs us. And that is the gift of the first mirror. The second mirror turns us inward. And this is where the teaching becomes a little bit more demanding of us. Here we stop projecting and we begin listening. We meet our inner masculine, the part of us that sets direction and creates boundaries and structure and wants to take action. And we also meet our inner feminine, the part of us that feels and senses and knows the truth directly. This is the mirror of our values and our inner programming. As old wounds surface and patterns reveal themselves, conditioning begins to dissolve. This is what Jesus means when he says in the Gospel of Thomas, if you bring forth what is within you, you bring forth what will save you. This mirror is where we realize there is a value system inside of me, a program, a way my nervous system has learned to survive and to belong and to be loved. And that inner program is quietly organizing my outer world. So instead of asking, why does this keep happening to me? The question becomes, what inside me is familiar with this? For example, someone may notice that they're always over-giving in relationship. They're exhausted. They feel unseen. And at first, it may look like people keep taking advantage of me. But this inner mirror reveals something deeper. It could be, I learned that love meant self-sacrifice. I learned that being agreeable keeps me safe. My system equates worth with giving. Now, there's nothing ever wrong with giving kindness, but what's needed is an inner awareness and a structure so that boundaries are intact and your needs are acknowledged and action aligns with truth. And as the inner orientation shifts, the outer world recognizes. Different people begin to show up. Old dynamics begin to fall away. And this is sacred union in motion. The feminine within senses misalignment and says, this doesn't feel true anymore. And the masculine within responds, then we move forward differently. This mirror reflects that as we become more conscious, something changes. There's no need to force change. It naturally happens with greater awareness to your internal value system. Now, the third mirror is a mirror that very few arrive at, partly because it's the least embodied and partly because it can be perceived as boring. Here, the masculine and feminine are no longer negotiating with one another. They unify. This is why Jesus says, when you see your likeness, you rejoice. Many people will touch this mirror briefly and then they turn away, mainly because it feels like what I said, boring. But let's remember that we enter relationship because of attraction, and that attraction is often based in something we project onto another person. We see possibility and potential. In relationship, there is growth, and that's one of the reasons that we are attracted to relationships. But this mirror is not about seeking growth, it's about staying in it. And here is where we deepen into totality. And this is often mislabeled as boring, but it isn't boredom, it's completeness. Completeness may sound heavenly, but most of us are conditioned to lack. And so we seek and we seek and we seek. But here is where we are asked to stop seeking and go into our own depth. But that's a big ask for our nervous system to no longer chase in order to feel alive, to no longer need the friction in order to generate connection. This is why people often leave relationships at this stage. They think, there's no spark anymore. I'm not activated like I used to be. This has become boring. But this is what's really happened. The initial unconscious rub that created the attraction healed. The inner programs that needed attention have been resolved. The relationship is no longer being used to heal an inner split. So the person goes on looking for another relationship, not because they want love, but because they want to feel activated. Eventually, if they're honest, they will realize that they are repeating the same cycle and chasing a familiar feeling. And that realization is the doorway back to this mirror. Jesus points to this when he says, the kingdom of the Father is spread out upon the earth, and people do not see it. The ego's looking for fireworks and elevation, but the kingdom, bliss on earth, is spread through ordinary life in stillness, regulated connection, quiet intimacy. And because it's so ordinary, many people pass right by it. Even if a person doesn't leave a relationship, at this point, the attraction to something else, to another person, will inevitably happen as the ego is not readily able to receive this mirror. So an important question to ask yourself at this mirror is, what is it that I see or sense in this other person that I believe that I have lost, that I think I have given away, or that I have had taken from me? This is an important question because we seek what we believe is missing in order to feel alive in relationship. And when we learn to recognize what we perceive missing, we can begin to look further inwards into that totality, and we stop looking outwards into relationships for that completion. Because sacred union is about being stabilized in your body. It's not about an outer romantic pursuit. Sacred union is about becoming whole. And in that space, all of your relationships shift, because when the inner masculine and the inner feminine unify, the nervous system regulates, the light body organizes, and consciousness becomes coherent. And from that place, your relationships change because your very presence has changed. And that is how we experience heaven on earth while being in a body. If you want to actively live this work and not just understand it from a mental, intellectual pursuit, join me on the mat. Quantum healing yoga helps you regulate the nervous system so you could lead your life from power and not old patterns. I hope you enjoyed this teaching, and I look forward to the next time that we meet. Sat Nam.